In modern-day Massachusetts, there resides the famous Old South Church, an historic edifice that was once the tallest building in all of Boston. Now, it sits quietly nestled in the midst of the towering office buildings of busy urban life. But this unassuming church holds a secret, an amazing story of faith and divine intervention. In October of 1746, during what came to be known as King George's War, France sent a fleet of nearly 100 ships to burn the coastal cities of America. The American colonists alone held no hope in matching the massive cannon, gun, and manpower of this great fleet. They needed a miracle. The governor of Massachusetts assembled what men and resources he could and called for a universal day of fasting and prayer. Thronging to the churches, people everywhere pleaded with the Almighty, asking for that miracle. Time was short, as the fleet was quickly approaching their shores. Reverend Thomas Prince, from the high pulpit of the Old South Church, prayed before hundreds. He offered up these very words: "Deliver us from our enemy. Send thy tempest, Lord, upon the waters to the eastward. Raise thy right hand and scatter the ships of our tormentors and drive them hence. Sink their proud frigates beneath the power of thy winds." He had scarcely pronounced the words when the sun was consumed by darkness, and there arose a great tempest in the sea, and the land was cast in shadow, as a great wind arose. Suddenly, the shutters began a violent hammering, slamming at the windows as if the very hand of God had shaken the earth, and the bell atop the tower of the old church began to ring erratically. Reverend Prince raised his hands high above his head. "We hear thee! We hear thy voice, O Lord, we hear it! Thy breath is upon the waters to the eastward, even upon the deep. Thy bell tolls for the death of our enemies." He bowed his head in reverence, then looked up, tears streaming down his face. "Thine be the glory, Lord. Amen and amen." The following week would bring news that a miracle had occurred. A virtual hurricane had risen out of the Atlantic and sunk nearly all of those French frigates. The remaining ships were observed sailing, broken and battered, from whence they came. Boston wasn't burned. Charleston wasn't burned. New York wasn't burned. God had once again preserved the colonists from utter destruction.